Welcome, everyone. I'm Melissa Jones, Director of Marketing for RDA. I'd like to give you a brief introduction of just who we are. RDA is a group of independent PVE distributors throughout the United States, and our goal is to provide our members and their collision shops with marketing and sales support. And if you're interested in finding out more about RDA, you can go to our website at www.rda-impact.com. And we have Ryan Taylor, who's the CEO of Bodyshop Booster. He's your presenter for today's webinar on crisis bounce back formula for collision shops. And the presentation should take about 60 minutes. We're going to have questions and answers at the end. As he said, you can type your questions in the chat box over to the right. And we are recording it, and we will post it on our YouTube channel. And with that, I'll turn it over to Ryan.
Fantastic. Well, thanks everybody. Glad you could join us, and this should be a lot of fun. We're going to go through some stuff at a real fast, high pace, which is how I like to roll. I've had at least 3 cups of coffee so far today, so that bodes well. So you should be able to hear me, see the screen, and we're going to get into it. And like Melissa said, today we're going to be talking about a bounce back formula, some things that you can do. COVID-19 was nothing more than a sucker punch, wasn't it? And really changed the business dynamics. A few things changed industry-wide. And so we want to show you how to leverage some of these things to your advantage. And so just to make sure that you're in the right place, because we really value your time. My time is really important. I know yours is. So we want to make sure that this is the right place for you to be today. So here's what you're going to be learning in this presentation. We're going to be showing you how your market works and what triggers customers and their buying behavior and what things have changed because of COVID. We're also going to talk about who controls the repair volume and how to leverage those players to your advantage. So if that's something that interests you, make sure to stick around. Also, we're going to talk about how COVID-19 has changed some of the fundamentals of buying behaviors of customers. And then we're going to talk finally about a massive advantage that you have as a body shop repairer that really gives you an advantage over the insurance companies, over the OEMs, and it's unique to the body shops. And we're going to show you how to really leverage that. It's surprisingly, very few shops, maybe 1% to 2% of shops capitalize on this today. We're going to show you that. So National Hail Repair team, and we were cooking. And I want to tell you a story that happened to me in 2010. See, September 2010, we were really cooking along. And during these months, from July to September, we're always really busy. We were fixing from July to September because of hail. Ronald, he calls me, he says, "Hey, Ryan, I just wanted to give you a courtesy call." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. What's happening?" And I remember this so clearly. I was driving and I was talking on the phone, like, creating work for our industry, I guess. And so I'm like, "Well, what's happening?" He's like, "Well, we've changed things internally at the insurance company here. We decided to go with a national provider. So we're going to go ahead and shut all of your stores off at the end of the month." And I was completely caught flat-footed. See, this insurance company was close to 30%. I think it was 28% of all of my stores, all the business, right across all 8 locations. And I was like completely dumbfounded. I'm like, "Well, is it me? Was it something I did wrong?" And no, it's just a thing we did. And we're going to go with a national provider and we're done. And so there's really nothing I could do. So I thought to myself, I'm going to fix this with marketing, right? So I started going out and spending big dollars on radio and TV and print and social media. And really, it was like burning cash. It really didn't have a good effect. We didn't see a lot of volume come out of it. And so a friend of mine said to me, he's like, "Ryan, you know what you really need to do?" He says, "You need to hire this team of behavioral scientists and also a team of analysts who are going to look at the industry for you and map out exactly how the customer journey works and show you leverage points that you can utilize." And so that's what we did. We jumped into that. And we hired this team and brought them in, and some of the things that they found were totally amazing. And the reason I bring this up is because COVID-19 has kind of been a bit of a sucker punch, hasn't it? Where a lot of us have felt an impact of anywhere from 20 to, in some cases, 80% loss of business. And so I want to share with you a couple things that you can do to help bounce back from this. And a lot of this is when you understand the customer journey, you can leverage this to your advantage. So the first secret I want to share with you is kind of the hidden gold mine. And here's how your market works. No matter where you are, your market is a lot like a lake. Now, in that lake, here's what you need to know. 57% of the vehicles in your lake don't really have, in your market, don't have any kind of damage. And so marketing to these people is very expensive and hard to do. See, the way our brains are wired is to move away from pain and towards pleasure. And so these customers right now that don't have damage, it's hard to market to them. They're not thinking about body shops. They're thinking about, hey, when COVID lifts, where am I going to go for vacation? And if I was to ask you, did you wake up this morning and research flood restoration companies? You'd probably have to say no, right? Because you don't have a need for it. And so that's really and truly the point I'm trying to make is marketing those people is challenging and expensive. You really only become valid or viable to that customer when they need you, when they have an accident, which makes sense, right? So here's what's really interesting. Your marketplace right now around your shop, 43% of the vehicles around your shop do have some degree of damage, and it varies. It goes from the type of damage changes their buying behavior. So if we take a look at small damage, I call this, type 1 or 0 to 12 hours in repair. We find that the buying decision of these people often takes more time. And we're finding that, it can take anywhere from a couple days to years to make a buying decision. As the damage gets larger, what happens is more and more people start to make that decision quicker, right? So what you're seeing on the screen right now is our mid-size, medium kind of repair. We find the buying decision of those people is somewhere in the vicinity of about 3 months. To even a day or two. And then the big hits, of course, that buying decision shrinks really short because that's their driver. They can't put it off. They can't defer. And so we find these people have to make a buying decision within a day or two. And so if you think about your marketplace, those are the 3 different types of damage that are out there. And I'm going to show you how to leverage that in a second. But what happens is these people flow out of the lake towards what I call Repair River. And so Repair River is really the traffic flowing down towards the body shops. Now, 2% of your market is active today. That's it. Just 2% of the market is actively flowing towards the shops today, which means if we go back to the lake, there's a lot of cars that have damage that aren't moving. Why? Well, when we look at the numbers, see 10% of those people are what we call unqualified. So maybe it's rust, restoration, they're going to do it themselves. They have a family friend or somebody else that works at a competing body shop. 10% of your market won't come to you. That's just the way the numbers shake out. Now, what is really interesting to me is this right here. 31% of the vehicles that are damaged in your marketplace are hibernating. That's right, they're sleeping. And so when we look at these vehicles in particular, it's usually the small to early stage mid-sized damage. And think about this for a second. When you walk around the parking lots, right, this is what you see in the shopping malls everywhere you go. And so this represents a really powerful opportunity, and I'm going to show you how to unlock this in just a little bit. But let's go back to our analogy. So these vehicles are flowing downstream out of the river, out of the lake, down the river, and they come against a chain of islands that starts to split up the flow of traffic, the flow of vehicles, doesn't it? And so when we think of what an island does, is it just divides that traffic. No different. We call this the island of influencers. So influencers in our industry, the first one that often comes to mind is an insurance company. Other ones are dealerships. A good prior experience is also a very powerful influencer. Family and friends. OEMs are now starting to take a bigger role in actually directing traffic. And same with fleet companies. So what we're seeing is these influencers are powerful. And the reason I brought that up is right now is the perfect time to start building relationships with your upstream influencers. That's what I'm telling shops right now. Now is where you go out and start building those relationships because they have the ability when the volume picks up, and it will pick up. We're already starting to see that happen. As it picks up, these people will have a relationship with you and they can start bringing you more traffic. So let's talk about a couple of these. Let's talk about dealerships to start with. How do you work with these upstream influencers? Well, here's something that a lot of people don't know. 41% of the cars that go through a service drive have some degree of small to mid-sized damage. Isn't that interesting? Now, of course, that's going to have a price tag anywhere from $900 to $1,400 in repair. So let's just call it an average of $1,200, okay? And now let's say that service drive, this dealership pumps through 100 vehicles a day. That means there's 41 damaged vehicles. Now, 41 damaged vehicles per day times $1,200, that's $49,200 per day of potential revenue. So are you getting that out of your dealerships? Are you working with your dealerships to get that? And a lot of shops like, wow, that's kind of a light bulb moment, isn't it? Here's the problem. When we measured this, when a service writer goes to the customer and says, hey, you should go and see this body shop, and hands them a business card, what happens is only 14% of those people that are handed the business card or referred to your body shop actually show up. And we call this transferring efficiency. So transferring from the service drive to the body shop. And so we thought, man, what can we do to help shops do better? So one of the pieces of technology that we actually put into play through Bodyshop Booster is what's called a referral portal. So this is a piece of simple technology, sits on the service writer's phone or on their tablet. And within 60 seconds, they can photograph the damage, they can document the customer's info, it will track the service writer and the dealership, and it will send you that lead. So basically, within moments, you're talking with that customer in their time of need, right? So we got to the customer. Here's the neat part. Transfer efficiency went from about 14%, and we have a lot of shops that are getting close to 65, 70% transfer efficiency. Isn't that cool? And so try and find ways to work with your upstream influencers. Dealers is a great area. Another one that I think is a great focal point for you right now is insurance agents. Here's the key. As deductibles go up, okay, and we used to see this. Remember when deductibles were $250 and now they're $500, $1,000. We're seeing over $1,000 now. As deductibles increase, so too does call frequency to the insurance agent. And the customer is going to call the insurance agent and say, hey, do you think I need to file a claim? Now that insurance agent can't answer the question. So if you have customers coming into your facilities or calling your facilities and saying, yeah, my insurance company told me to go get 2 or 3 estimates. That wasn't really the insurance company. That's the insurance agent. And so that's kind of a misconception that a lot of people have. And so understand that insurance agents can play a very powerful role in your market, and they are motivated to send you work if you position yourself properly. So what I mean by positioning yourself properly with an agent is what motivates an agent is actually having a clean claims book. They get compensated by the insurance company. They get paid more if they have fewer claims coming out of their agency. And so what I like to do, if you want the ultimate door crasher, go to an insurance agent and say, we've developed a claim avoidance program. So what that means to the agent is, how do you help my customers avoid filing a claim? See, they know that if that customer goes through a DRP program, they file a claim, they have a 42% chance of that customer changing insurance companies. And they call this churn or lapse scan in their industry. And so they are very motivated to send customers to a shop that might be able to help that customer not file a claim. And the way you go about that is you say, look, we've got technology. We make it easy for a customer to get an estimate, right? We have things like a financing program that we can put into place. So if the customer doesn't want to file a claim, they don't have to. So start trying to find ways to work with your insurance agents. One of the things that we did is we developed for our customers what's called a referral portal. So in about 8 to 10 seconds, while they're on the phone with that customer, they can send that customer the photo estimate tool, and it will also update the body shop real time on their dashboard saying you got a new referral from Tom over at XYZ Insurance Agency. So you can track which insurance agents are pumping you the most work. So try and find tools that make it really simple and easy to do business with the agents. Okay, let's take a look at another upstream influencer, insurance companies. Okay. And I want to share this with you because COVID-19 changed the game. See, I've had some big meetings with insurance companies in Canada, Australia, and the US. And here's what's interesting. They had to completely change their claims model in 8 to 10 days. They've had to overhaul it. They've had to look at things. So now this creates an opportunity. See, the bucket you're looking at on the screen right now represents a traditional claims bucket. And what happened is COVID-19 effectively emptied out that bucket. As water returns to that bucket and gets poured back in a historical model, what would happen is the first people to see that water would be at the bottom of the bucket, like consolidators. And as that water level increases, Okay, then the large MSOs, the small MSOs, the large independents, and then finally at the top, the small little independents and mom and pop shops would be starting to see some claims volume until COVID-19. Okay, so the insurance companies have completely had to change their model. And what they're looking for from you is to have a COVID safe or a touchless repair system. They want their customers to be able to deal with you in a remote fashion. So what do you have to offer to your insurance partners or to even insurance companies that aren't partners of yours today? How do you profile yourself? So the minute you get the assignment, how are you making contact? How are you doing the assessment virtually? Are you using imaging like photo estimating? How are you getting that vehicle booked into the shop for a repair appointment? How are you getting your authorizations signed? Can you do it electronically with that customer so they don't have to come into the office? Things like booking the repair, a touchless rental car system, repair updates and online payment. How is the customer paying their deductible or for the invoice without having to come into the office? And then finally, on the bottom left-hand corner, let me just change my video here. How are you delivering the vehicle to the customer in a touchless manner? So this is what the insurance companies are looking to you for. One of the things with Bodyshop Booster that we do is we have little pieces of technology that help you establish this for your partner. So if that's of an interest to you, we can definitely help you establish that and get that going. But that is what the insurance companies are now looking for. And if you go to them and say, look, we can help you. We have a touchless repair system. They're going to be all ears. They're going to want to hear all about it. Makes sense, right? Okay, so let's go back to our little analogy. Here we are, we're flowing downstream. The customer now has gone past the first islands of influencers, right? And they're going to listen to the insurance company, their friends, their family, their OEMs, their dealers. So now they're flowing downstream. Now that customer comes up against a second chain of island, and I call this the secondary influencers. But what I want you to think of is, I've been recommended to look at 3 or 4 shops by the primary influencers. Now I'm going to look at the shops myself. So I'm going to look at your website. I'm going to make contact. Maybe I'm going to text or call or look at you on Google. I'm going to look at your online reviews. As I do this, as a customer, this is the journey they go on. And the job of the secondary influencers is actually very simple. The job of the secondary influencers is to validate what the primary influencers have said. Isn't that interesting? So if the primary influencers say, go check out these 3 shops, I'm going to go look at those shops. I'm going to consider them. I'm going to call them. I'm going to call you. So the communication is key. Okay. The secondary chain of islands is very, very key that you're there. And what I want to share with you is response time. Response time is going to be a new battleground, especially after COVID. A lot of customers are choosing to look at shops digitally, to try and do business with you digitally, because they've become well, for lack of a better word, germaphobes. I mean, I'm no different. I went to the grocery store the other day and I'm looking at the grocery cart handle going, I don't know if I want to grab that. I never had that thought before. Customers are going to have these kind of lingering behaviors for quite a while. So how are you dealing with your customers digitally? And more importantly, how fast are you responding? See, if a customer walks into the office and they're standing in your waiting room, how long do you let them stand there? Do you let them stand there for 2 hours before you respond or reach out to the customer? Of course not, right? You walk in and really, so you've got 7 seconds to make that first impression when they walk into your shop. 7 seconds, 70% of the buying decision of a customer when they walk in your shop is made in 7 seconds. And so when a customer reaches out via phone, via text message, via email, a web contact form, how long is your staff letting that customer sit there? Okay. If we're letting them sit there for a day before we respond, that's not good response. And so customers are expecting a more immediate response. The faster you respond to the customer, the higher the likelihood that you capture the repair. That's just the rules of the jungle. Now, here's something interesting. A good friend of mine, Mike Anderson, shared some of this data with me. 36% of customers are needing your services outside of normal business hours. So as repairers, as body shops, we really need to have a digital storefront, the ability for a customer to deal with us kind of 367, 24/7, it's a real deal. And so how do we actually do that? Here's some stats for you. Here are some really interesting stats. This comes from the Bureau of Transportation Statistics, if I'm saying that right. But look at these stats, okay? Nearly half of crashes happen on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Isn't that something? So those are over the weekend. That's when crashes are happening. Are you open Friday night, Saturday, Sunday? Do you have availability to deal with customers during that time? Here's another stat for you, which I thought was really interesting that Mike shared with me, is the time. You'll see that from 3 p.m. till midnight is the highest traffic accident time. And so again, after hours, are you having a storefront that customer can deal with you? And so those are going to be a couple things that we really need to look at and focus in on as body shops. Now, when we looked at the number one complaint for the collision industry for the last 20 years, you know what that was, guys? Anybody have a guess? Right? I mean, this isn't really going to shock you, but it's bad communication. Bad communication has been the bane of our existence for the better part of 20 years. And what's interesting to me is our communication scores have actually been going down. This is ABS Consulting Group, who got bought out by Accenture, but they did a big study and they looked at it from 1995 to 2019. And the interesting thing to me is back in 1995, people would call or walk into the shop. Today, what's happening is customers call, they email, they text message, they Facebook message, they WhatsApp, they web contact, they do all these different things. And so we're now chasing all over the place trying to, kind of help that customer. And so as that happens, as more channels happen, our communication scores are going down because our people are trying to manage many, many different channels. And this has been a challenge, a complaint that a lot of shops have expressed, saying, hey, you know what, I'm trying to have my people manage many different systems. So a vision for us was, wouldn't it be great if all these different lead sources and all these different channels of communication fed into one simple program that our people could run and manage from anywhere? And so that was kind of the birthplace of Bodyshop Booster. We thought, hey, we can bring in all these leads, we can bring in all these channels of communication into one simple program. So things like, voicemails, and things like the ability to text back and forth with the customer in one platform, and email back and forth with the customer. And hey, why can't we just let a customer schedule an estimate with us or a repair appointment with us in one simple system? So that was kind of the birthplace of our technology of Bodyshop Booster. And so some of the things that you can leverage to your advantage is technology can help with the overwhelm. So a lot of shops are like, man, my people are like in an office full of paperwork all day long. What can we do to help? So this is relatively new technology, and we released it about 4, it's probably about 4 months ago now. When COVID kind of hit, we've been working on it for a couple of years and we fast-tracked it. But artificial intelligence is getting more and more gooder. Gooder's a real word in Canada, by the way, guys. But here's the interesting thing. Artificial intelligence can answer your phone like Siri or Alexa, and it can also help with texting with customers. So communication can be aided by technology. And so think of it this way. The thing that we built is a little thing, I call it Autobot, but it sits on your phone, it sits on your platform. And if a customer calls, they had an accident at 10 o'clock at night, it can help them get an estimate appointment. It can help them, it'll send them the photo estimate tool right to their phone and actually help them. It can take voicemails, arrange a tow truck, do all these things for that person. I always say artificial intelligence is never as good as a friendly, empathetic, knowledgeable person to answer your phone or to answer somebody in person via text message. But if that person is not available, it's great, right? It's great. It's better than a voicemail, we'll get back to you later. So that's a really cool thing that is available to you folks now through Bodyshop Booster. So let's keep going. Let's take a look at this journey. So we've gone past the secondary influencers. We've communicated effectively. Here's what we know. The average customer is going to consider 3 shops. And now what's happened because of COVID, The average customer is looking at 3 shops more or less digitally. So how are you selling yourself, right? And a lot of shops are going to be, pumping out an estimate based off of photos or trying to advise the customer remotely. How are you selling yourself? So that's a big piece. So they're considering shops. Eventually, what they're going to do is they're going to pull the trigger and they're going to say, I'm going with this one shop. And after they're done that, buying decision is over. And so as we keep this journey going, they choose a shop, they come in, they book the repair, they drop the vehicle off. You can see the whole channel here. So it gets chugged through the pipe of getting repaired. It gets pumped back up through the pipe into the lake as a repaired vehicle. And all these little different touch points happen for the customer where you're giving them, a repair and updating them and delivering the car and giving them a warranty and asking them for CSI. And hopefully you're doing some thank yous and post-repair marketing because that's really, really powerful. And then they come back into the lake. So that, what you see on the screen right now in its entirety is the life cycle or the customer journey. And they repeat that every 5 to 7 years, depending on your market. Isn't that interesting? They go around and around every 5 to 7 years. But a lot of people forget that when that customer comes back into the lake, they have the ability to refer you other customers. And so that's a key component that we'll look at in a minute. I want you to understand that you're in a race, okay? And the race is really, really simple. The race is between yourself, your competitors, other body shops out there. The race is also in the race is the insurance companies and now the OEMs. All these people are in the race with you. And here's what the finish line looks like. Whoever gets to the customer first wins. Okay, that's the race. Whoever gets to the customer first wins. And so when we look at this analogy, see a lot of shops will actually play down here at the little yellow triangles. They're like, oh, I'm going to work on my website and I'm going to work on my communication tools, which is great. And you need to have those. Now, some shops are working on these with the upstream influencers like we talked about, and primarily they're going to be working on their DRP relationships. And they're looking to get that work referred to them, which is a great thing. I want to share with you a little secret today, okay, which was instrumental in growing our organization. Let's start up here, right in the lake. Whoever gets to the customer first wins. So let's go to the customer before they even get into the lake. Let's go up to where the hibernating customers are. Remember we talked about these customers who are just sitting there with damage that they're not getting fixed? I want to ask you a question. Think about this for a second. What is the most profitable work in your body shop? Is it this mid-size, small size, or is it the big heavy hits? Well, for most shops, it's going to be the kind of the small to mid-size repair, isn't it? And so very, very interesting. We can go after these customers who are hibernating. So how do you wake up a hibernating customer? So everybody sees the duck on the screen, right? And so if I just rotate that duck just a little bit, this is called a paradigm shift. Now we've got a bunny rabbit. And all we did was just shift the perception or shift that image slightly. This is what you need to do with your customers. We need to shift their perception. How do we do it? Well, when you reach out to your marketplace, understand this little piece of behavioral science. People are more afraid of making the wrong decision than they are of spending money. Isn't that interesting? I mean, we've all done it. We've all gone out and bought the piece of junk and regretted it and had to come back and buy the right thing. And so that is a very powerful thing that we can leverage to our advantage. So here's how you wake up a sleeping or hibernating customer, okay? The very first thing number one, is you need to have a pattern interrupt. So what you're seeing is actually a campaign. That's my son from years ago. I'm not much of a parent, I know, but talk to me about marketing. Don't talk to me about parenting, apparently. So, but here's the thing, is it grabs the customer's attention. They're like, oh, that little redheaded brat, he just keyed the side of that truck. And then they read the message, right? I love mom. And they're like, oh, that's a cute message. So now they're conflicted. We've drawn them in. That's a pattern interrupt that grabs somebody's attention, okay? Then thing number two is you need to create a sense of urgency. These people have fallen asleep because they don't think they need to deal with the damage on their vehicle. Create urgency. And seeing this little button down here, need an estimate before rust sets in. See, that creates urgency. They're like, whoa, I never thought about rust setting in. I need to do something about that. urgency is an actual human trigger that gets people moving. And then now that they're woke up, now that they feel a sense of urgency, you have to give them a call to action. That's the third thing, a convenient call to action. What you don't want to do is say to the customer, what you can do is drive down to our shop between 9 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. because that's when we accept appointments. And, by the way, we're 25 miles away. You have to go through construction and you need to book ahead, and you also have to bring us coffee. Like when you start putting barriers in their way, they have great intentions and they're like, yeah, I'll go to that shop. But the reality is the more barriers you put in that customer's way, they will forget about this and they will fall back to sleep. So you need to create an urgency and a call to action that they can take action immediately. And I'll give you some examples of that. Here's another campaign, okay? Now, this wasn't mine. I wish it was. I wish I would have thought of this, but fix that crack before it spreads. Okay, and this was a wonderful campaign that brought in a ton of work for the shop organization. But look at this little paragraph here. Did you know bumper cracks can spread? It costs 3 times more to replace a bumper than it does to repair it. And that's creating a sense of urgency. And then again, the call to action down here, click here to start your free estimate. So they've given a simple, easy call to action that gets that customer engaged. Isn't that cool? And of course, the plumber crack doesn't hurt. It draws the attention, and that's the pattern interrupt. So those are a couple little examples. So now when we're talking about call to action, here's some little pro tips for you. Here's a couple examples. Click here to book your estimate. So if you have an estimate calendar, and I highly recommend having one on your website and a link that you can share with people. If you don't have that, that's something that we can help you get through Bodyshop Booster. But basically give the customer the ability to schedule an estimate appointment right at your shop. And so that's a real simple thing, and it gives them the ability to act now and get them engaged. Another one, click here to call now. So here's some pro tips on phone calls. Phone calls are still one of the more popular things that customers like to do, especially when it comes to damage on their vehicle. So here's what you need. You need to find a way to take these phone calls 24/7 to help the customers. Understand that the ideal situation is you need to get that phone answered in under 4 rings. The data shows us if it goes past 5 rings, those customers start to drop off like a cliff. They're like, oh, I'll just call back later. Obviously, they're busy. They're not getting to my phone call. You need to get that call answered in 4 rings or less, because if they intend to call you back in the future, chances are they won't. The person on the phone, your staff answering the phone, for goodness sakes, make sure that they're friendly, empathetic, and helpful. It's amazing to me how often the phone gets answered by somebody in the back beside an air compressor, and they're like, yeah, what do you want, right? Those kind of things, they can't happen. That customer needs to be talking to somebody friendly, empathetic, and knowledgeable. Also, when you're trying to answer the phone 24/7, that's nigh unto impossible for us body shops. So some shops have looked at hiring call centers, and we see this with the consolidators, right? They have after hours people who can answer the phone and try and help the customer. But call centers are expensive and challenging, and a lot of times they're uneducated people. So that's why we started building the artificial intelligence like Alexa or Siri that answers the phone and can talk to the customer and answer most of their questions. And so things like, I need a tow truck, I need to talk to somebody, take a voicemail, send out the estimate tool, schedule them into the estimate appointment. Those kind of things can be actually done through Bodyshop Booster now. So that way you can still facilitate or help the customer day and night whenever they need you. So very, very powerful. A pro tip, another one, is getting a photo estimate. So a lot of shops are now, this used to be a nicety, right? It has now become a necessity. And one of the things that we've helped a lot of shops around the globe with this, with our patented technology for photo estimating. What you want to do is be able to assess the damage from images, okay? And I want to make that a very clear point, because a lot of shops are like, oh, I don't want to turn into a snap sheet where I write an estimate that's way under what it should be. So what you do is minor damage, go ahead and write an estimate. More severe damage, just advise the customer. Say, Mrs. Jones, I'm looking at the images of your vehicle. I can tell you that there's going to be a lot of hidden damage. We started the initial estimate, but to complete it, we're going to need to get the vehicle in the shop, tear it down, and finalize the estimate for your insurance company. Customers understand that. And it also helps your staff out where they don't have to do a curb written estimate and then bring the vehicle in and blueprint it. You're just going straight into a blueprinting appointment. So get really good at advising customers from images. This is really the future state. One of the things about Bodyshop Booster is that we help the customer through what's called guided discovery. So we show them exactly how to take the right images, how to find their VIN number, walk them through step by step. And then you can look at the images under things like X-ray filters and enhancement filters so you can advise the customer better. So that's a really important thing to have in your toolbox. Another thing that you should really have nowadays is texting. So texting has become extremely popular with customers. Here's my pro tips for texting. Have it available from your website. You can also now get it where they can text your landline and it will come in that way. So we help a lot of shops set those things up through Bodyshop Booster. We talked about response time. Okay, we talked about response time. Customers want to hear back from you in at least 15 minutes is kind of the upper side of that window. And a lot of shops, what we're seeing is a lot of shops response time is somewhere in the vicinity of 4, 5, sometimes 8 or 12 hours. They're not getting back to that customer. And by that time, the customer's found an alternative option. So you need to be highly responsive to that customer. That's again why we built the AI, where it can help answer those customers' questions and have the initial conversation with them and really walk them through that. So that's another piece that response time is going to be crucial with all of these tools. Let me share with you the new battleground. So this is where you are going to win or lose customers, okay? And it's all due to COVID-19. One of the things that we know is the customers are sitting down here trying to figure out which shop I'm going to go to. So why would a customer choose your shop? Okay. And when I look at an organization, whether it's a little mom and pop shop, whether it's a big organization, this is one of the first areas I look at. How do we instantly grow their sales? So I'm going to share with you a strategy that I share with our clients. And this is powerful to understand. This is probably the most important strategy I can share with you today. If you have 100 estimates coming your way, whether that's a month or a week, or some shops are doing this a day, in whatever time frame, let's say you have 100 estimates coming your way. And if you have a balanced shop, meaning you have DRP and dealer and a mixture, this is going to be a big thing for you to understand. And matter of fact, I had this misconception myself for years about my capture rate. See, when I lost that big DRP, one of the analysts who came in, Steve Scriber, brilliant guy, used to work for McDonald's Corp for years. He said to me, he says, Ryan, what's your capture rate on estimates? And I said, I don't know. We don't really monitor it, but I would guess 80%. He says, Ryan, measure it. I guarantee you're going to be surprised. And so we did. We measured it right across all of my stores. And lo and behold, my capture rate was only 54%. 54%. And I thought, that's brutal. I'm horrible. I'm awful. What an ugly thing, right? And so when we looked at the national average, nationally, if you have a balanced portfolio where you get DRP, customer pay, dealer, agent, fleet, all these things, you will probably be in that category of around 56%. If you're a DRP heavy shop where they're selling the jobs for you and basically sending the customers into your door, you'll probably be around a 73 to 76% capture rate, depending on your market. But stick with me here. Let's go back to our little analogy. So here we are. Let's say for easy math, you have a 50% capture rate, kind of like I did for my stores. Now, that means that let's call it a week. Every week we're bringing 50 vehicles in the door. And so if we're getting 50 repairs, that's great. Now, let's go out and market, right? That's the knee-jerk reaction that a lot of us are doing. And I get this question all day long right now during COVID-19. Should I be marketing? So let's say you go out and market and you do a great job. And all of a sudden you're getting 200, instead of the 100, you're getting 200 estimates per day. Here's what we always find happens is your capture rate will go down because your estimators are twice as busy as they once were. And they're doing a poorer job of selling that customer. So capture rate drops to 40%. However, that means at 200 estimates per a week, 40% capture rate, we're still getting 80 vehicles in the shop. And a lot of us are, hey, good job, right? We're awesome. Now, the problem is we're burning out our staff and they hate us. And on top of that, we're spending loads and gobs of money on marketing. So there's a far better strategy. And this strategy comes to us from Tabasco. Yeah, that's right, Tabasco, the hot sauce company. So here's how it works. See, Tabasco wanted to grow sales. And so they set out to do this. And they brought in marketers from New York and marketers from Chicago and all over the place. And all these people are coming to them with strategies of billboards and radio and social media and TV and print. And this guy in the back heard about it, and he's in coveralls and he bottles hot sauce for a living, and he heard they want to grow sales. So he grabbed one of the executives and he said, excuse me, I heard you want to grow sales. I can do that for you, and it won't cost you a penny in marketing. And the executive's like, yeah, we got this. We're good. And he's like, no, I'm serious. But I have a condition. If I grow your sales, I want a percentage of that increase, whatever the increase is. And so they're like, maybe this guy's not, just bottling hot sauce. Maybe he's got something here. So they agreed to his terms. They brought him into the boardroom, and there he is in his coveralls, all the executives there. And they're like, okay, we want to hear your pitch. And he's like, all right. So if you want to grow sales without spending a penny in marketing, all you have to do is make the hole at the top of the bottle bigger. That's it. People will pour out more Tabasco. If that's all you do, just make the hole at the top bigger. And so they're sitting there dumbfounded, and they're like, sure. So they made the opening 1.2 millimeters larger, and they had an instant spike in sales. Isn't that crazy? And guys, here's the crazy thing. They bottle 700,000 bottles of Tabasco go out of that factory every single day. Okay. Think that guy's still wearing coveralls? Probably not, right? And so what I'm telling you is this is exactly what we need to look at. Look at your capture rate first and foremost. If you're doing 100 estimates a week, just increase your capture rate from 50 to 80%. And now you've got the same effect. You've got a lot more customers. You already did the estimate, and you're not burning out your staff. And it doesn't cost you a penny in marketing. Now, I know that's easy to say and a lot harder to do. But here's a couple things that will help you. Understand the average customer today is looking at 3 to 4 body shops. And more importantly, that customer is looking at them virtually, right? Especially because of COVID, they're now sitting at home with 2 to 3 different estimates trying to make an informed decision. How are you selling your customers virtually? How do you stand out? Now, here's the problem. If you're the low price leader in your marketplace, COVID's a great deal. Right? Because customers are kind of thinking, well, I'm looking at these pieces of paper. The one thing they understand is what? That's right, price. They understand price. So if they're looking at price, that's not really what you want them to be focused on, is it? We used to want to get that customer to come in the shop, see your beautiful lobby, talk to one of your people, and basically commit to the repair at that point in time. These things have changed because of COVID. So how do you sell that customer virtually? Again, remember this little thing. People are more afraid of making the wrong decision than they are of spending money. So leverage that to your advantage. Leverage that, okay? So rather than giving that customer a piece of paper that they can't understand, rather than sending them an email that looks like the other emails they're getting from other body shops, we want to give them an experience. So one of the tools that we saw this coming a couple years ago. So my team worked really hard on building a virtual sales system that you can send to customers. So now we can text or email the estimate to the customer in an experience. So wrapped in an experience that sells them. Check this out. So this is kind of fun. So as they open up the text message, let's say they drive a Toyota RAV4 or something like this, right? So they're going to see your logo and branding. And then below that is a video that we've already built a lot of these videos for you guys. You can put your own custom videos in there talking about how wonderful you are. But we've actually built custom videos in here based on the type of vehicle they own. Because what's important to them is knowing exactly about their specific type of vehicle. So let me actually show you this video, and we'll actually have a click. I'll just show you what this influencer video looks like, and I'll come right back. Here we go.
Thanks for letting us prepare an estimate on your Nissan. There are a few important factors in repairing Nissans that we wanted to share with you. As vehicles become more advanced, it's imperative the body shop who repairs your vehicle is trained and educated on the latest factory repair methods. It's no longer acceptable for body shops to just have a basic understanding of how vehicles are constructed. That's why we constantly invest in advanced factory level training. Most shops currently don't spend the time or expense to educate their technicians. Think of it this way. If you were in need of a heart transplant, would you rather see a physician who only has a basic understanding of how the body works and hasn't kept up with modern medicine? Or would you rather go to a surgeon who is constantly being trained from leading experts and uses only the best surgical equipment and procedures? Well, of course you want to come through an operation safely. We realize that your safety and the safety of your family is dependent upon us repairing your vehicle back to factory condition. That's why we always repair your vehicle correctly. As an example, we never use unsafe replacement parts because doing so can compromise the way your vehicle performs in an accident. To go above and beyond, we also use factory scan tools that connect to the manufacturer to make sure all safety systems on your vehicle are working properly. One other important factor is having your vehicle repaired by a recognized Nissan repair shop will help keep the resale or trade-in value of your vehicle higher. So you're watching this and probably trying to decide what is best for your vehicle. Well, if you're looking for a safe repair and the peace of mind knowing that your vehicle has been fixed correctly, then this is the shop for you. Or if you're looking to keep the value of your vehicle higher and you want the repairs done to last a lifetime, then we're the shop for you. So please take some time to review the attached estimate, and if you're ready to schedule your vehicle for repairs, just tap on the Book Repair button. Thanks again for the opportunity. We're looking forward to getting you back on the road safely.
Isn't that something, guys? It's kind of amazing to me. Now I realize that I put the Nissan video instead of the Toyota video on there. My apologies. But here's the interesting thing. The viewership of this is wild. We have 98% of people watch it through its entirety. And then from there, 52% of people watch it a second time. Why? Because people are more afraid of making the wrong decision than they are of spending money. They're trying to make an educated decision on why they should choose your shop. So give them those tools. Find a way, whether you're using something like Bodyshop Booster or find a way to sell your customers digitally, that's going to be really powerful. So here's kind of how the experience continues on. They watch the video, they can click through, see your estimate, and of course, this is the PDF that you got out of Autotex Mitchell or CCC. We're an open platform. We work with any system. And then from there, they can click on Book Repairs. So what happens is the customer is being tracked by our system. So we know some things, right? We know when the customer opens the estimate. We know a lot of different things. And we notify your staff saying, hey, your customer looked at her estimate a few minutes ago. This is going to prompt you to do follow-up. And here's some of the things we track. So if the customer doesn't open the estimate for 24 hours, it might mean that they didn't get it or it went to a spam folder if you emailed it, right? When it's opened, if they share it with a competitor, we're going to let you know. So you have a really high level of intelligence knowing what's going on with that customer. If they're ready to book the repairs, they can sign a repair authorization, they can schedule the repairs. Make that a seamless experience for your customer to do right from their I'm going to say sofa, but couch, their chair in their house, whatever. Sorry for my Canadian accent there. But now the customer is in that experience and they can sign your authorizations right inside of there and get things going. Let me share this story with you. This is powerful to understand. This nudges your people to do follow-up. So I was in a shop when we were testing this probably about 2.5, 3 years ago when we were first releasing this technology. And I was in the shop, I was with an estimator named Ed, and he got the pop-up on his screen saying, hey, this customer just opened their estimate, John. And so he looks over at me and he says, what do I do now? And I says, well, call him, put him on speakerphone, let's call him. So he picks up the phone and he calls John. He says, hey, John, it's Ed over here at the Body Shop. I just wanted to check in on that estimate I sent you a little while ago and see if you had any questions. Now, of course, John's sitting there going, holy cow, yeah, I just opened that like 10 minutes ago, So what you don't want to do is call the customer and be like, hey, John, I know you're looking at your estimate, because you'll freak people out. So don't do that. But so it was really great. So John was surprised and he was quite happy to talk to us. And so Ed said, well, did you have any questions? But then John's attitude changed. He got a little bit chilly on the call. And he says, well, actually, I do have a question. He says, I got your estimate and I got another estimate from your competitor. Yours was $1,640. Your competitor was around $1,100. He says, And you know what? Looking at the estimate, the only thing I can see that's different, you called for something called a rebar. He says, I work in construction. I know rebar is used in concrete. This was his hang up of all weird things. He was hung up on that rebar is used in concrete. He thought that Ed was trying to rip him off. And so Ed was really good. He's like, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up. He says, that rebar is a metal reinforcement bar that sits under your bumper cover and kind of keeps the structure of your vehicle together. If we don't replace it, it could compromise the safety of your vehicle. If you were to get in a future accident, it might not hold up as well. It could actually compromise your safety or your family's safety. And then he said this, which I thought was genius. He says, you know what? He says, matter of fact, if they missed something as important as a rebar, I wonder if they missed anything else on that estimate. And he just let it hang for about 3 heartbeats. John says, you know what? Let's go ahead and schedule it in with you. See, people are more afraid of making the wrong decision than they are of spending money. But you need to get to them when they're in the throes of making that buying decision so they can make an informed decision. They can understand why you're more expensive, why you're better, why you follow, the procedures, the steps that you do. So a very powerful thing. One of the things that I wanted to really hammer on, and this will be the last thing I touch on really, is making sure that your staff does follow up, whether you do it manually or whether you use our system Bodyshop Booster to automate this. This is going to be where the jobs are won in the future. See, 91% of shops tell us they don't do any follow-up. 7% say they try it one attempt. 2% of shops say they do it multiple times. That's it. And here's some interesting data that blows my mind is we know from studies that are out there that the shops that do follow up are 70% more likely to capture that repair. 70% more likely. If that customer hasn't booked when they leave the shop, if they haven't booked when you sent them the estimate, you stand 70% chance of losing that customer if you do not do follow-up. So follow-up is crucial. And timed follow-up, like we talked about with the Ed and John example, timed follow-up is really important. Now, one of the things that we realize is this is time consuming and challenging for shops. So we actually built automation. So when you send that estimate, automation will actually do the follow-up for you. So one of the cool pieces of technology we have in Bodyshop Booster is a voicemail drop or ringless voicemail, some people call it. So this is the ability to take your voice, my voice, whoever's voice, drop it on the customer's phone like you see on the phone here where it says new voicemail from ABC Collision Center. That voicemail lands on the customer's phone without it ringing, and it can do the follow-up. So 24 hours after you send out the estimate, you can have your pre-recorded voicemail land on the person's phone and say, hey, it's Susie over here at the Body Shop, just following up on that estimate I did for you yesterday. Now, I would always use urgency, right? And it looks like because of, COVID-19, here's a great way to do urgency. Because of COVID-19, it looks like a lot of the parts are getting harder to get. So I would recommend we get that booked in so I can get these parts secured and moving in this direction, right? Give them a sense of urgency. But that phone call doesn't have to be made manually. It can be done through automation. Same thing with text messages. You can do text message follow-ups and email follow-ups. And a lot of these different things are really, really powerful. So start trying to find ways to make sure that you're doing follow-up either manually or through automation. It becomes really, really powerful. Here is a case study of one of our customers in Missouri. So before they started doing follow-up, they had about a 60% capture rate. They were doing between their stores, 2 stores, 1.44 million in estimates a month, which means that's $835,000 every single month. Now, by just doing follow-up, check this out. By just doing follow-up, they had a 5% increase in capture rate. Isn't that crazy? $72,000 a month increase. They already did the estimate. They already did the work. They just needed to do the follow-up. And the reason I'm hammering on this is going to be more. We're watching people's capture ratios suffer because of COVID-19. We're seeing more and more people not coming into the shops like they used to. So doing follow-up is going to be key. Now, when they used automation combined with doing it manually, they got to 11% increase, which is $158,000 a month, okay, by just doing follow-up. Very, very powerful. So I know I talk really fast. We've covered a lot of material, so I want to recap these 3 secrets for you guys. So secret number 1, how do you get upstream? How do you get to that hibernating customer, wake them up, right? Start working on things like that. Number 2, okay, digital communication, the faster you respond to customers across multiple channels, the higher the likelihood you're going to keep and retain and get those customers. And then number 3, do follow up. Okay. Have a sales experience that you can give to that customer digitally that is going to influence their buying behavior, that you are the right choice. Okay. So those are kind of my 3 little secrets there. And I always get to this point in the presentation and I always ask this question because it seems to me a lot of people have said to me in the past, Ryan, you talk really, really fast and you cover a ton of information. It was great stuff, but I kind of feel a little bit like this kid right here, where it's like drinking from a fire hose. That's a lot of information. So what we wanted to do is kind of give you the opportunity with RDA. We wanted to put together a special package. And I just wanted to go ahead and ask, for those of you who are on the webinar, we wanted to put together a special package where you can get access to this technology if it interests you. And I like to just ask permission at this point to see if it's okay to share that with you guys. And maybe Melissa, if I can get your nod on that, if you want to unmute yourself there, let me know if that's okay to share that with your crew. Okay, perfect.
Sure,
We'll go ahead and just kind of show you what we put together, a special little offer. So one of the things that we decided to do was take our most advanced features and wrap them all up for you guys in one simple package that will help you with everything we really talked about today, from getting to the customer, texting, communicating, all these things like ringless voicemail and the phone answering systems and the email programs and the ability to schedule estimates. All those things we talked about, working with like your dealers, your insurance agents, those portals for those guys, right through, and there's some things we didn't even get time to talk about, but working with your insurance partners and your virtual sales system. Remember, we talked about how you can influence the buying behavior of the customer. Those videos will be included inside of there for you. So whatever type of vehicle they own, we can help them. So those kind of things, we decided to put it all into one package for you. And we also decided, what else can we do to really help you guys succeed right now? So we decided to actually give you guys coaches as well. So what we do, if you become a Bodyshop Booster customer, we'll actually give you a coach that works alongside of you. So normally, in normal times, this is priced out at $2,500 sign-up fee and $795 per month. For COVID-19 and for RDA shops, you can get in signed up at a nice cheap price of $997, $347 a month. There's no contract. You're welcome to sign up. The way you do that is just go to boostersignup.com and you can actually go ahead and sign up for this webinar special while it's available. And so really, when we look at the, and here's kind of the normal pricing versus the COVID special that we put together for you guys. So when we look at it, there's 5 leverage points that you can look at. There's what I call lead magnets, which are all these different things that help you get to the customer out there. But lead magnets are like kind of like bait. If you think of a fishing analogy, it's like bait, and it just brings the fish close to the boat. The communication is like the hook. Okay, so the way that you communicate with the customer via texting or photo estimates, all those different tools that we have, that's where you get the hook in the customer's mouth. Now that hook just reels them close to the boat. You still need to sell the deal. And that's what we talked about, wasn't it? The Sell My Estimate platform, where you have the influencer videos and all that. That's the net. And then you've got the vehicle in repair. And then, of course, one of the things you want to do after you've repaired the vehicle is release that fish back out into the ocean and do post-repair marketing. So that's kind of part of our system that we walk you through those 5 core areas that really help. If that's something that interests you, by all means, we wanted to make a quick little offer to everybody through RDA. Go to boostersignup.com and we can definitely help you out with that. So in closing, I want to share this little thought with you, and then we'll go into questions. This is from a good customer of mine, a great friend. This is Matt McDonald out of Big Sky Collision Center in Montana shared this with me. And he says, Ryan, this is so powerful for shops to understand. The world is changing very fast. Big will not beat small anymore. It will be the fast beating the slow. And that's Rupert Murdoch, the billionaire that shared that quote. It'll be the fast beating the slow. Find ways to engage faster with your customers. Find ways to help your customers, 10 o'clock at night. Don't make your customers wait till the morning to start dealing with you. Find ways to be fast. And guys, this is your advantage. See, COVID-19 has turned a lot of big operators upside down. They're trying to upright the big ship right now. While they're doing that, you're, as a smaller operator or mid-size or whoever's on this call, if you're a big operator on this call, this is your challenge. How do I move quickly? How do I pivot fast to be able to accommodate my customers? So that's a little bit about Bodyshop Booster. It's a little bit about some of the bounce back strategies that we have. And to give you guys some hope for the future, the analysts have come back and we've looked at the industry. And here's what we know. We know in the future that customers are going to be germaphobes for a long time. I'm no different. People are reluctant to fly. I'm reluctant to fly. I used to fly every week. Now I'm like, I don't know if I want to get on a metal tube full of germs, right? People are scared of public transit. People are scared of, Ubering. So what that means is more people are driving. Okay. More people are using their own personal vehicles instead of carpooling. More people are going to be. So when things start to recover, we're looking to see more personal vehicles being driven, which means more miles driven, more cars on the road, means more work for you guys. So the future will be bright, but we need to pivot to the new customers' buying behaviors and demands. So with that said, Melissa, I'll turn it over to you and we can kind of see if there's any questions that we can answer. I know we're coming up right against that 1 hour, thing. So, yeah.
Okay. We do have a question. They're asking, is the $347 a month, will there be an increase over time or over a certain time?
That is a great question. So what we're going to do is we're going to lock you in at $347. There will not be an increase on that pricing through RDA. Now, we will be coming out with new features that you could bolt on to that package if you want in the future. You can opt to add those in, but we're going to lock you in at $347 at that price. That's a great question. Yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions they'd like to ask?
Perfect. And guys, you know what I'll do is in the chat box, I will actually put in my email. So
also, Ryan, I'll send it. I'll follow up by sending everyone who's on this presentation. If you don't mind, I'll send them your information and they can contact you directly.
Gotcha. That would be perfect. Yeah. So you guys can definitely reach out to me or my team directly. We're happy to help you. And so any other questions or follow-up questions with this kind of thing, we'd be more than happy to chat with you if you want to see some of the product stuff or demos, or just if you have questions about your body shop, your industry, we're here to help, guys. That's really the driving factor of Bodyshop Booster. And what I do is, how do we help body shops? We're here for you. And I know this can be a bit of an uncertain and scary time. So we want to just work with you guys in any way, shape, or form. So, yeah.
Thanks, Ryan. Great presentation. So we will follow up with everybody. And again, there's your website provides samples of how AI sounds.
Oh, okay. So Fred, I see that on the chat box. Thanks for the question, Fred. So not on our website, but we can definitely, I actually have like a video on how it works, Fred. We'd be happy to share that with you on how the AI sounds. We did go with a female voice. It sounds a lot like Alexa or Siri's kind of a voice. We're actually using Amazon, their neural engine to power it, so it understands the natural voice sounds and stuff like that. So definitely can get you a sample of what that sounds like. The cool thing about AI is it's self-learning, right? So it gets smarter. Every conversation it has, it gets more and more intelligent. So we're like I say, we're only probably about maybe four months into using the AI, and we're already watching it start to get more and more intelligent, where it can help customers more and more. So yeah, it's kind of a new thing for us, but it's fun. And I think right now we probably have it in close to 120 different body shops that they're using it every day. So I could even get you maybe the phone number for one that you could call after hours and have a conversation with it, see how it helps you. That would be something that we could kind of play around with too. So get you a real life example. So yes. Wonderful. Well, thank you everybody so much for having us. Melissa, thank you for putting this together. You guys are always on the forefront of helping shops and so I feel very honored to be on this presentation with you. So thank you so much for that.
Great. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, everyone. And we'll follow up with sending you a copy of the link.
Wonderful. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of the week. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks again.